After the bloodshed of World War I, thousands of Australian soldiers returned home to a promise. Land of their own, remote, rugged, barely farmable, but it was something, a reward for service, a new beginning. They worked hard, planted crops, raised families, but peace didn't last. That year, an enemy invaded the farmland. Swift, unrelenting, impossible to stop, and over 20,000 of them. Towering brutes, 6 foot tall and fast. They came in waves. They crushed fences, devoured fields, and then vanished like ghosts. The farmers were desperate. The government solution? They sent the army. But once the soldiers arrived, the real chaos began. So how do you fight an enemy that doesn't follow the rules? And why did a nation with machine guns lose to the long-lost relatives of dinosaurs? And what does that say about war? When nature outsmarts the military. Let's try and find out.
Hello, I'm Mike Droberg, a Marine Corps veteran and filmmaker, and we will try to answer these questions on today's episode of Forgotten History.
Western Australia was never meant to be a paradise. For thousands of World War I veterans, it was land, cheap land, granted by a grateful government in exchange for their service. No homes, no roads, just plots of wilderness, and a promise they could build something from it. They planted wheat, built fences, fought droughts, fire, poverty, and the slow grinding indifference of the outback itself. But by late 1932, a new threat came storming in, one they never saw coming. That spring, over 20,000 emus migrated from the interior to the coast, drawn by water, crops, and open fields. They overran the land like a feathered blitzkrieg. 6 feet tall, muscular, lightning fast, emus could sprint up to 30 miles an hour. They tore down fences, flattened crops, and left destruction in their wake. And even when the bullets hit them, they kept running like tanks with feathers. Traps failed, and even dogs refused to chase them. With their livelihoods collapsing, farmers turned to the only force they believed could stop the onslaught, the Australian military. But what happened next would become the most absurd chapters in military history. Facing national embarrassment, collapsing crops, and thousands of furious farmers, the government had a solution: military intervention. Minister of Defense, Sir George Pearce, approved the deployment. Soldiers from the 7th Heavy Battery of the Royal Australian Artillery were sent to Western Australia, armed with 2 Lewis machine guns and 10,000 rounds of ammunition. Their objective was clear: eliminate the emu threat. Fast, clean, military precision. Officially, it was a military deployment. In reality, only 3 men, 2 machine guns, and a truck that couldn't aim straight. In charge, Major G.P.W. Meredith, a no-nonsense veteran of the Great War. He didn't expect much resistance. After all, they were just birds. Accompanying him were Sergeant S. McMurrah, a non-commissioned officer, and Gunner J. O'Halloran. On November 2, 1932, the first engagement began. 50 emus spotted, guns loaded, soldiers ready. Within seconds, the gun jammed. The birds scattered. Most escaped unharmed. They tried again days later, this time over 1,000 emus in sight, but their formations were erratic. They didn't clump together like enemy troops. They'd sprint, zigzag, and vanish behind the shrubs. Operation Emu was turning into a farce. The army had come to wage war, but the birds were winning. The campaign dragged on for weeks. The emus, they weren't just surviving, they were adapting. Major Meredith noted that the birds had developed guerrilla tactics. Small units, evasive maneuvers. They'd scatter the moment a shot was fired, then regroup miles away, like feathery commandos. In one last push, the soldiers mounted a Lewis machine gun to a truck. The emus sprinted. The truck bounced. The gunner couldn't aim. The only confirmed casualties were fence posts and the driver's dignity. By mid-November, after thousands of rounds fired, the tally stood at emus, 1,000 dead, ammo used, 9,860, efficiency, 1 kill per 10 shots. Unofficially, hundreds of wounded birds vanished into the bush, only to return later like PTSD flashbacks. The press had a field day. Cartoonists mocked the military. Politicians scrambled. One headline read, "Emus defy army, war declared a fiasco." The public couldn't decide whether to be outraged or just laugh. And so, less than a month after it began, Operation Emu was called off. The army withdrew, defeated, not by trained soldiers or strategic minds, but by a species that hadn't changed in millions of years. Millions, or billions, or whatever the evolutionary scoreboard says these days. But the Emu War was over. Officially, it had been an experiment. Unofficially, a national embarrassment. Politicians called it a waste of time. The military pretended it never happened. And the farmers, they were furious. They still had emus, and now, no soldiers to blame. Eventually, the government replaced bullets with bounties. Farmers were paid to hunt emus themselves, and this time, it worked. Over 57,000 emus were killed in the years that followed. And in the end, it wasn't guns or glory that saved the wheat fields. It was fencing. The most effective defense was steel. Reinforced fencing, taller, tougher, and stretched across thousands of acres. Finally stopped the birds where bullets failed. Emus couldn't fly, and they couldn't break through. The war ended not with a bang, but with a barrier. Major Meredith quoted, "If we had a military division with the bullet-carrying capacity of these birds, it would face any army in the world." Today, the emu is a protected species in Australia. Once seen as a pest, it's now recognized as a vital part of the community's unique wildlife and a symbol of resilience and irony. The Great Emu War wasn't just real, it was a reminder that sometimes when humans go to war with nature, nature doesn't just survive, it wins. Let us know your thought on the Great Emu War in the comments below.
Thank you for watching Forgotten History. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you have any comments or show ideas, we'd love to hear from you. Thanks again.